My name is Tyler Jackson, the host of the Play Sheet Sports Podcast, and I want to welcome you to this week's episode where I sit down with quarterback Kadien Vance of Westside, now a graduate. He talks about his future at Concord football, being a three-sport athlete and being successful at it, some of his favorite experiences at Westside, some of his best memories, some of the things that he went through with trials and tribulations and how he was overcome them, and what it took to build a winning program across multiple sports from his freshman year to his senior year. As always, this week's episode is brought to you by the folks at Princeton Healthcare Center, Raynell Medical Center, and First Community Bank. And if you like this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
For the past 4 decades, Princeton Healthcare Center has provided a quality experience for countless families to give them a warm and safe senior living environment. We're much more than a nursing home, offering skilled nursing services in a long-term care community. If you're looking for a skilled nursing facility that is as compassionate as it is comprehensive, look no further. Contact us today to schedule a tour for you or your loved one. Princeton Healthcare Center, a commitment to caring.
I want to welcome you to the Play Sheet Sports Podcast. I am joined today by Kadien Vance, now the Westside graduate. Yeah, used to say Westside quarterback, basketball player, and baseball player, but now you're a graduate. And the first question I want to ask you, Kadien, is how are you doing today, and how is the life of a graduate treating you?
I'm great. I mean, it's definitely different. I mean, getting to the workout plans of the big college and everything of that's it's a little intimidating at first, but I mean, it's starting to click in.
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar, Kadien is a three-sport athlete, all-stater, and very good player in all those sports. First-team all-stater so far in football and basketball and baseball. The all-state meeting I think will be this coming weekend. But obviously you excelled at all those sports, and I want to start off with you hit on it a little bit, but you're going to college to play football. I starting there. How did you settle? How did you boil it down to football? Because, like I said, you've played all these sports. Your brother was a kid that was very versatile. I remember during his senior baseball season, I think he actually played every position. So versatility is something that runs in your family. But I do want to start off with how did you kind of settle on football as the thing you wanted to play at the next level?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to give any of them up, and I kind of sat down and thought about it, and I can't really pick a favorite. So I mean, any decision that I made wouldn't have been a wrong one. But I didn't want to give any of them up. And I was thinking, you can't go on weekends and play football. You can't pick up football like you can basketball and even baseball. So I didn't want to give any of them up, and then I would have had to give football up if I had picked one of the other ones. So, and I've always loved football since I was youngest. I mean, I've played quarterback since I was 4, and I didn't want to. I wasn't ready to let it go.
So that's interesting. So it's like, okay, like in some capacity, I could always do like intramurals, or I could always
Mhm.
go play pickup, or I could play as part of some other team. But the one thing with football is like, this is my last chance to ever play it. So that's kind of what it boiled down to for you.
For the most part, yeah.
So I do want to start with that. I want to move on to that because you're one of the rare athletes nowadays that actually plays three sports. And I want to start with this section by asking, was there ever a point where you thought about giving up one to specialize in another? Because so many kids do that nowadays. I don't see a ton of three sport athletes, and really any of them that if they do play three sports, they do it well. So was there ever a thought of giving any of them up?
The thing with playing 3 sports is that, like you said, you can't really specialize in one because it does put you behind. I mean, you've seen at the state tournament in the semifinals, we played kid Eli Sancombe. I mean, he plays basketball year round. Uh, but not really. I mean, I love all 3 sports and I love the diversity of all three. With all the seasons, I couldn't imagine just playing one, like having one season. I mean, if with basketball, there's to be pickup ball and everything, but nah, I never really thought about giving one up.
You said that you had played quarterback since you were 4 years old. Uh, so was football your first love? Because I know Wyoming County, you're born and they put a basketball in your hands. What was your first love as far as those sports you played?
I just kind of loved them as I picked them up. Honestly, I can't really I can't go back and think about that one because it's so long ago. I mean, honestly, my memory's probably not even developed yet. But I can't remember loving one over the other.
You know, So was there ever a point where, I feel like all athletes are confident in some sort of capacity, but there's always that kind of the point where the switch sort of flips for you in a capacity where you feel pretty confident in it. Uh, what was that point for you for each sport, starting with football? Because I know your freshman year, I think Jackson Kogar was a quarterback there, and then he ended up transferring, which really opened up a position for you to play quarterback a little bit earlier, probably than you would have if you had stayed there. So at what point did you kind of really come into your own and football and then basketball and baseball and feel pretty confident about those sports?
That sophomore year was for football. It was rough, definitely, but with Jackson leaving and getting that year head start, coming into my junior year as a team and myself, we were pretty confident going into that year. That's probably where football started. Basketball, honestly, probably wasn't until my senior year. I had some setbacks through sophomore and junior year, toward the end of my junior year, but the senior year we really picked up as a team. And baseball, I've always kind of, I mean, I've always, baseball is one of the more individual sports compared to the other two. So I've always been kind of a confident baseball player.
Gotcha. Uh, we talked a little bit about football, but I remember your sophomore year, that first start against Wyoming East. Uh, that game, I think you threw two touchdowns or so, and then I think you had two interceptions, if I remember correctly. I just know it was a good all around effort for you. Uh, how big was the game like that and the performance like that as far as getting your feet wet at the position? Because I know the season wasn't the success that you hoped it was, but stepping in at the high school level for the first time in a big rivalry game and having that kind of performance, how does that kind of build confidence for you, and how do you feel like that kind of sets you up for the rest of your career?
So starting off with Wyoming East as your first ever start is never ideal. But on the good thing, we weren't very good, but neither were they. So it was a good game to start off with. That win gave us a lot of confidence, even though the season didn't pan out how we wanted to. But that win and the individual performances from each of the players kind of kind of boosted our morale, and I think it kind of boosted it too much because from there it kind of just went downhill. But other than that, I mean that getting that big win, getting the feet wet, it definitely helped for the rest of my high school career. Though.
Gotcha. We're gonna go ahead and take our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk about how you were part of a very successful class at Westside and how it didn't really start that way and how you built towards that.
Some see sports as just a game, but it's more than that. It's about building dreams, embracing teamwork, and pushing limits. With every play, every cheer, we're there rooting as partners in their journey. Because at First Community Bank, we believe the youth of today shape our communities tomorrow.
Back here on the Play Sheet Sports Podcast with versatile Westside graduate Kadien Vance, who's going to Concord to play football. Kadien, I remember asking you this question after the state tournament, but coming in to Westside, really the sports programs were kind of in a dark period. Basketball hadn't made the state tournament since 2018. Football hadn't made the playoffs in I think 5 or 6 years at that point, and baseball was struggling as well. And you always kind of come in with aspirations of changing that. You had mentioned in the previous segment that you're a pretty confident individual. How tough was that coming into that situation, just, trying to rebuild it? Because you want to grasp onto something. Because I remember your old basketball coach, Sean Jenkins, telling me, I think this was ahead of the 2019 school year, so before you were even in high school, but he had to tell his kids at that point that they were struggling in football so much. I think they had gone through like a 1-9 season, but he had to reiterate to them, you guys aren't losers, and when you're going through tough periods like the programs had been going through, it's easy to kind of get lost in that. Uh, so how as a group did you guys feel like you helped turn it around? Like where did you kind of grasp onto something? What was like that first climbing step for you guys?
Well, coming into my freshman year was still rough with sports, but coming into my sophomore year, we had a couple changes as far as like in the school with coaches and even our principal. We had got a principal that came in. She was wonderful. She's a sports fanatic. She loved it, so she always kind of backed all the sports, and we kind of grabbed our school and we kind of gathered it around that kind of stuff. And when everybody's loving it, then it makes it easier. What we grasped onto though, we kind of grasped onto each other, our group, our seniors. I call them all my brothers. I love them all. Um, we kind of started playing for each other, like we were sick and tired of losing. So my sophomore year, we had a pretty good basketball season, but coming into my junior year is when my group kind of was like, "Hey, we could do something if we want to." So I mean, winning's a choice. You get a choice when you first start playing sports. I mean, so we all kind of we chose that we weren't going to be losers no more. We bought into it. We put in the work in the off season, and that's kind of why we got to turning it around.
Now, were you from the Baileysville side or were you from the Oceana side?
I'm from the Baylesville side.
Okay. See. I like. So I know it's from Westside, but like I wasn't sure which of the feeder programs. Coming up, did you guys have a lot of success in your youth leagues from the Baileysville side? Because I know Oceana had some good teams, but do you feel like there was a lot of success there that translated, or take me through that kind of that journey and because again, at some point you have to learn how to win, and I'm kind of curious if that was something you guys picked up a little bit in middle school as well.
Well, if you wanted to play youth football, you had to go to Oceana. In middle school, though, if you wanted to play football, I had to go to Oceana to play football. Uh, Basketball, I played it at Belliesville, and baseball, you had to go to Oceana to play it. So I played with those guys a lot. Basketball season, though, my eighth grade year, we had went undefeated the whole year until we got to the county championship, and it was against Oceana. We had already beat them once at Belliesville. And that's the game that we were undefeated all year, and they ended up beating us. And those guys still give me crap about it because only me and another kid are the only two we still play from Belliesville. But yeah, we'd always both Belliesville and Oceana, we'd always been winners. Like we'd always won a lot at the undefeated season, then beating us in the championship. Our baseball team, my eighth grade year, we only lost two or three games. My football team, my seventh and eighth grade year, I think we only lost two or three games in both years, and the losses we did have were close losses. So
Gotcha. But yeah, so there was a bit of a translation, even though that those first 2 years in high school weren't as successful, that it seemed like it carried over. Uh, I so I do kind of want to go back to basketball because for me, I think the point where you guys sort of took a turn because I remember your sophomore year, you guys struggled a lot, and that was because I remember the two Independence games. They were built up in the communities because of the rematches, and it was a really tough season for you guys, but. I felt like the light in that season was the sectional opener against Wyoming East. I think you guys led for a good chunk of that game. I think you only lost it by 2 or 4 points or so. And I think East ended up winning. Well, maybe not winning the sectional championship, but they competed for it there. And I just remember that kind of feeling like that was where the gap closed a little bit. Did you guys kind of feel that same way there at that point? Even though you didn't win, the season kind of felt like it ended on a high note a little bit.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, it definitely felt better going into our junior year than it did that year because I mean, East had beat the brakes off of us at the Armory that year, and then we go up to Bluefield and play East there, and they only beat us by a couple points. So we were coming into our junior year, we knew we had something special that we could work on. So yeah, for the most part, that's you got to.
Uh, so kind of sticking on that rivalry a little bit. I know a lot of kids I've talked to are just kind of like the crowd of those games can be overwhelming a bit. But I know even at the middle school levels, it's still packed whenever you go to those middle school championships. They're still, packed along the wall. You had mentioned whenever you first stepped foot on the state tournament floor for Doddridge County, you had been puking that morning. You had gotten sick because of nerves. Playing in that Wyoming East rivalry, is there any sort of comparable feeling of nerves just because of the pressure of the communities that comes with it? Is it similar, or is the state tournament kind of its own different animal?
I think the state tournament is definitely kind of its own animal, but those those rivalry games are so built up. It's one of those ones like you want to be on that court as a player. Like, it's so blessed to live in Wyoming County and get to play that game because as a player you want to play that game. Like that's the game that it's built up. Even though it honestly it doesn't mean anything. They beat us at Wyoming Geese. We beat them at Westside. We both went to the state tournament. So those two games really didn't mean a whole lot. It's just you're playing for your side of the county in the against the other side of the county. I mean, obviously the state tournament was way more nerve wracking and way more important. But those games are fun just to get those throughout the season, and it kind of prepares you for those big state tournament and regional championship games because the way everybody in the community blows it up.
Now, kind of, I know it's a little bit different, just because it kind of is like it's not as center stage in football, but for football, did it feel like was there a nerve comparison for football when you go up to Frankfurt in the first round as opposed to the as opposed to basketball? Like how was there a difference for you and how it felt?
I mean, I get nervous before every game, but I was extremely nervous at Frankfurt. But it doesn't compare to how I felt going into the state tournament game because basketball season we were going in as 3 seed and we had stuff to lose. But football season we were going into the 16 seed, going and playing the 1 seed. So it's kind of just like if you knock these guys off, then heck, you're not supposed to. So I mean, it wasn't as nervous, but I was still pretty nervous.
I do want to shift to you kind of mentioned something about having a principal that's extremely supportive of high school athletics. And I've seen so much. I feel like a lot of people are super backing of her, Miss Endicott. I mean, just kind of talk about the support and how that kind of trickles down for you to have somebody. Because I remember when there was a bit of an instance going on earlier this year. She was super supportive of the cheerleaders. One of the things that she specifically mentioned was the queens of Region 3. And just me being an outsider, I feel like you notice things like that. Somebody that really just seems to lift the sports programs up, but she also seems to be somebody that outside of sports seems to be very well received within the school. I mean, just talk to the person and how important it is to have somebody like that, not just as a principal, but somebody that just kind of seems very accessible to the students.
She's great, yeah. As far as athletics go, I mean, we always have some that the higher administration there backing you. Uh, I think that's invaluable. I mean, it's great to have that better than somebody like you get a big win basketball season, you come in the morning announcement, it's getting mentioned and everybody's cheering. That's that kind of keeps it going compared to somebody who just doesn't care about it. And then going on as a person, she's great. She's somebody that you can always go to if you need something. She kind of she's well respected at the high school, but she's also kind of just a friend if you need something.
Gotcha. We're gonna go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about more about Caden's future and some of the quirks of basketball season.
Most people don't realize that your health starts with your mouth and your teeth. Raynell Medical Center is pleased to offer dental care in 2 locations. Dr. Heather Heister is serving patients in our Raynell Dental Center, located just behind the Health Center. Dr. Darren Wadsworth and Dr. Dustin Yoakum are serving patients in the Maxwellton Dental Center. Our dental staff does a wonderful job of making patients feel comfortable. If you've not had a dental checkup within 6 months, make your appointment today.
Back here on the Play Sheet Sports Podcast, I'm joined by Kadien Vance, now Westside graduate and multi-sport athlete. Kadien, you guys had one of the weirder situations. Well, it's weird that this has happened in Wyoming County a couple times, but it's weird that it happened on both sides of the county this year. But both of the head coaches didn't finish out the season, and I know that there's really a lot to unpack with that. But I kind of want to start off with. You guys, regardless of who the coach was coming into the season, you guys, in my opinion, were a top 4 or 5 team, and that's how I voted for you guys in the AP poll as a top 4 or 5 team, projected to be that way. Just with all the pieces you had coming back and the talent. And it kind of got off to a bit of a rough start, and you ended up losing a head coach 2 games in. And as kids, that's really a lot for anybody. It doesn't matter what setting you're in. If you're in a professional setting and your boss, in the sense, is removed, then it's weird. So I can only imagine what that's like for 15 to 18-year-old kids. But for the players, from that perspective, how did you guys initially handle all that? Because again, like, I know it's really a bit of a touchy situation, but you guys are still focused on this. You're coming off of a football season where you're super successful, and you might be 0-2 to start basketball season, but you still got 20 more games to play in hopes of getting to Charleston. So, how did the group of players really handle that to start?
So we were blessed with a group of players. Our old guys, as I talked about them earlier, we're all kind of a family. So that only kind of so we had two choices then. We could either fall apart or we could come together. And we chose to come together to play for each other. It wasn't playing for a coach or whoever to come in, even though we were blessed with Coach Cook to come in. But we were playing for each other. We wanted to win, so we bought in. We were blessed to have our older group was a really mature group. So we took that group and the we led it by example. We led with our words, and the younger group kind of followed. So just staying together as a family and as a team helped us tremendously to be able to battle through all our adversities.
Was it difficult to kind of pick up some of Coach Cook's concepts and what he was trying to teach you to begin with? Because I know things can be a little bit different when you're going from it. But one thing that he had disclosed is, he wanted you guys to still do the same things that made you good, whether it be get out in transition, or whether he didn't want you to feel like you had to come up and run set plays. So, just trying to fit in all those new concepts. What was the challenge with that?
There was a little bit of a communication gap toward when he first came in. We played terrible at Wyoming East because we thought that he had his strict ways, but he wanted to let us play. And the communication there back and forth between the players and the coach, it wasn't great. But once we got that out of the way, um, he put us in position to win. All we had to do was execute, and from there we got once we got our communication gap out of the way, it was on the upside from there.
Gotcha. And that month of February, you guys just went on a heater. You beat a lot of good teams. I remember you beat Chapmanville, you beat Shady, Wyoming East, and you really sealed up what I thought was the top seed in the region at that point. What do you feel like kind of really sparked that run for you guys?
I mean, we knew it had it. Uh, what had sparked that run, I go back to this, was our loss at Shady Springs when they beat us by 700 points. Uh, we were in the locker room. Coach Cook wasn't happy. We weren't happy with ourselves, so we just decided that we wasn't going to let a team embarrass us again. And from there, we started fast on every team. We just got win after win, and then it just kind of snowball affected. We just kept pushing through it all.
And it led all the way through the state tournament. Uh, so you had probably the basketball game of your life in that opening round against Doddridge County, and you talked about it. You're like, man, I've never shot that well in my life, and you've shot 6 of 8 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3-point range. Was there a certain point in that game where you're just like, man, like I can't miss? Because usually, like, you'll feel like, okay, like if I go 1 of 3 or 2 of 4, 2 of 4 from three, I feel pretty good about it. But to just kind of keep incinerating the nets like that, just kind of, it was a remarkable performance. But was there a certain point where you were like, man, like I feel like I can't miss, or I just need to take a heat check or something?
After about, I think it was my third make in the first half, third make in a row in the first half. It was from behind the college 2 point line, and I just was backpedaling down the court. I just kind of looked over at Coach Cook, and he just kind of shrugged at me. So I just looked at him. I shrugged my shoulders, and because honestly I didn't know what was going on. He didn't know what was going on. But he told me he got back to the huddle. He was like, "Dude, keep shooting it." And I went, "Yes, sir."
Now, I want to go back to football a little bit because Kyler Kennedy was originally a basketball player, correct? And you got him out to play football, and he turned out to be a really good receiver. Talk to me about that connection and really how that all worked out because I mean he was I can't remember if he crossed 1,000 yards, but he got pretty close to it if he didn't. Uh, you know, did you kind of play a role in getting him out to play football? Because I think by the end of it, that was probably his best sport.
Uh, so all those guys, Austin and Braden and Duck, Colton last year and Kyler, me, Coach Koger, and I were talking in the field house one day, and we were like, these guys can play. So with Coach Koger coming in to coach, they knew that he would be good, so they all came out to play. And I mean, with Kyler, I've known him basically my whole life. We went to school together through middle school and everything. But all those guys, honestly, not just Kyler, but Colton and the twins, uh, we developed a good connection just because we've seen so much, we've seen each other so much throughout the year. I mean, two sports seasons, all summer, we were together all the time. So it's not really hard to have a connection with somebody that's always open. I mean,
Yeah, just it kind of feels like it's the truth of it. I kind of mentioned earlier, but three sport athletes are a rarity in this day and age, and it's something that I feel like is dying off a little bit more. What would kind of be your message to kids that are thinking about it? Because again, Kyler is one of those kids that falls into that. He may have just strictly stuck with basketball if it hadn't been for you guys kind of trying to reach out to him and get him going. But the that kind of I feel like kind of helped and translated, and he picked up a sport that he ended up being really good at. So, what's your message to those kids that feel like, hey, I need to specialize in one sport or another?
just experiment. I mean, even if you do, like, you go play football and you're thinking that you're missing out on basketball, you're really not. Because I mean, even with baseball, I play baseball, my hand-eye coordination gets so much better for basketball season and football season. I play football, and you're getting tougher and everything. You get stronger for basketball season. You play basketball, you're getting quicker and stuff. Come baseball, football season, you're really not missing out too much on trying to specialize in a sport. So my message would just be experiment. It's not going to hurt.
So, I'm going to ask you your favorite moment from your career, and this can be at any level, but football, basketball, and baseball. And I want to start off with football. Favorite moment in football.
Favorite moment in football. That's a rough one. There's been a lot. Um, as far as as in-game moments, it was probably the go-ahead touchdown against Mingo Central this past year. When I hit Kyler on the fake bubble screen. As small of a field and stadium as Westside is, honestly, I couldn't hear it. My head was ringing. It was so loud. Outside of off the field, though, it was probably Coach Koger hitting the Dougie on top of our training table. After that game,
Is there a video of that?
I'll find it. There is somewhere. It's out there somewhere. Basketball season, there's several. I could go cutting the net after the regional championship game. The game against Dodgers County, just getting to the state tournament, pulling up, looking at being the first one on the court with just us, our team, and in the Civic Center. There's plenty of great moments from this past year, and baseball season. Uh, we've had a lot of good ones. Honestly, I think it was my junior year. We were playing Lincoln at Westside, and it was 9-9 in the bottom of the seventh, and I walked it off on a double.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that video. Your dad sent it. That's yeah, that a lot of really good memories there. I I can actually remember all of them, which is pretty crazy. Now, you kind of hit on my next question, but what's your favorite memory from playing in high school that doesn't necessarily have to do with anything on the field? you talked about Coach Koger hitting the Dougie, but there are often a lot of kids that talk about, I just like the bus rides to games, the camaraderie and things like that. What was your favorite memory that doesn't really have to, involve anything on the field or on the court or anything like that?
Oof. So, dang, it's a hard one. There's a lot. So basketball season, probably the send-offs to the state tournament, both basketball and football season. Just getting to school that morning, everybody was hyped about it. Those were some pretty good moments.
Gotcha. Now, again, you are going to Concord. Is it your intention to stay at quarterback?
It is, but it's my intention to play too. So I mean, I think that's where I'll stay. But if something comes up that we need to us position field and it means playing time, then
What other position would you play other than quarterback? Are there any that you've really worked at? I know that again, you played defense, some defensive back in high school. Is there any that would stand out to you immediately?
other than no, I mean no, not really. But if there's shoes to fill, I'd fill
All right. So, what are you studying at Concord?
them. It's either going to be biology or chemistry. But after I get done with Concord, I plan on going to medical school and uh, becoming a physician and specializing in sports medicine.
Okay, so you kind of got this whole thing planned out already. You know what you want to do. So was is that more so just an interest in staying, involved in sports, or is there something in particular that kind of piqued that?
No, I mean, for the past 18 years, sports has been a part of my life. So without it, I don't want to leave it. So
Absolutely. Now, do you want to come back to the area and do that, or do you want to move somewhere else and do it, or?
I've thought about both. I haven't really, I mean, down here, there's not a whole lot of, as sad as it is to say, there's not a plethora of opportunities within that field. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And lastly, you had mentioned that you were doing some college workouts, so you've already kind of gotten a head start on that. What's that been like for you, just trying to adjust to the rigors of what the college game demands?
It's a little different, but it's not too much. It's the standard that my previous coaches, Coach Kerger and them, held us to. It's really similar, so it's not too bad. I've had some great coaches that's had their hand in preparing us. So
Gotcha. And uh, two questions I want to ask you. The first one is you were one of the interesting schools that was kind of on the cut line for football, depending on what had happened. And I just want to know, like, during that week, whenever everything was kind of in the flux, how you guys approached it and how you handled it, because it's such an interesting situation because you guys weren't guaranteed a playoff spot. And that's when I think you had messaged me at one point asking kind of like what was going on. You're like, man, like I'm nervous day to day just because I don't understand exactly, where we're going to end up. And I was kind of in the same boat where I just didn't know what was going to happen. But take me through how you guys kind of handled that and address that. And it's a really a nerve-wracking situation to go through, and it ended up being that you guys were able to get a playoff spot because it was ruled the way it should be. But I was curious about how you guys went about it and approached it.
Coach Kerger believed all along that we were going to get that spot. So me and him, we approached, we got the team, and we approached every practice like we were getting to play that Friday. The first week we ended up not getting to play at all. They suspended the state tournament till the next week. And so we just took it as like our bye, like we got another week to prepare for Frankfurt. We It gave us some confidence, honestly, because I mean Frankfurt hadn't had no clue who they were playing, whether it was going to be us or whoever the other team was. Um, so we kind of took that and we took that confidence as like, hey, I mean, this is just working out. This is just going to help us more. We believe that we were getting to play. So
Gotcha. And obviously, Coach Koger now he's going to be the offensive coordinator at Herbert Hoover. You've worked really well with him, and I feel like you probably would agree that working under him as a quarterback that really understands the position that you're in, and not being that far removed from the game and being a dual threat quarterback. I imagine you probably feel like he's probably going to do a good job in that role, but just talk about what you feel like he brings to that role as an offensive coordinator, and the kind of the perspective that he can give kids in that role. Because, like I said, he was a very successful high school athlete in his own right, very athletic, very good across all sports, and he's in that age group where he can still really relate to you.
Yeah, it was easy coming in. I couldn't imagine having to come in, and as a sophomore, him and me both coming into the new roles. I was coming into the quarterback role. He was coming down into the coaching role. But he made it easy as far as learning the game. Like, he's easy to learn from. He's a great teacher. He gets the point across. I think Herbert Hoover got really lucky. He's going to be a blessing to him. Um, as far as that, he knows football. He knows how to get it across to people. He's easy to relate to. He do anything for you outside of football. Um, so Herbert Hoover's offense, I think, is in really good hands now.
Gotcha. And lastly, do you have any candidates that you'd like to see replace him as a head coach at Westside? I know that they're still looking to fill that role. Obviously, you've worked with a lot of coaches. You're very familiar with folks in the community. Is there anybody that you'd probably give a recommendation to, or somebody that you'd like to see take that job?
Me and my mom's talked about this, and I mean, it's the buzz of the town right now. Everybody wants to know who Westside's football coach is going to be. Um, but I talked about this with a lot of people, and the thing that I tell them is, whoever they get, it's not going to be an upgrade. It's going to be a downgrade from Coach Koger. I mean, I hate to see him leave, but I understand his reasoning. Um, I can't pinpoint anybody. With most people that I think would be a good fit, can't really take it because of their work schedules. Um, coaching football, it's not just come practice for 2 hours. You got to practice after school because there's so many kids and not all kids can get rides. You got to be there an hour before and an hour after. You got to be there. I don't think anybody around here is going to be willing to put in the time that Coach Koger did. So I really have no idea who could do it.
Gotcha.
I hope they find somebody though.
Absolutely. Last thing I'll ask you, do you have a good joke that you like to tell? Uh, it's just anything. It could be like a dad joke or anything like that. Is there anyone that you like to go to, like an icebreaker or anything?
God, you caught me off guard, dude. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Would you consider yourself a funny guy though?
I don't. I mean, for the most part, no, not really.
Serious. All right. So we'll have to revisit this at a later time to see if we've got a joke that you can tell. Well, I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime down the road. But Caden, I want to thank you for taking the time out today to join me. And I know life kind of slows down for you a little bit. It's probably a little bit different because you're used to going from one sport to the next sport to the next sport, and now it's just kind of solely focusing on one sport. So I'm curious to see how that yields for you because, like you said, when you're able to kind of focus on one thing, it's just kind of scary considering that you've been pretty good at all three of these different things.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I hold on. Don't let me get up here yet. I got you one. I got you one.
Okay.
It's I was told this the other day. I was trying to think. I was told this the other day at at a graduation party by one of their dads. And if it's not funny, it's not my joke. So don't take it out on me. Uh, so these two guys walked into a bar, right? So the third one ducked under it.
Okay, that's a good one. I like
That's a
that. Yeah.
that's a pity laugh. You don't have to give me that.
No,
I
no,
understand.
I like that. That's a good one. I'm like, okay, well, walked into a bar, so throw. Yeah, I like that. I've not heard
Uh,
that one. That's that's unique. I like that. I'm gonna have to pocket that one and use that one sometime down the road. But once again, I want to thank Kadien Vance the now Westside graduate, for joining us. And you guys can keep an eye on his journey. He'll be playing football at Concord for the next couple of years. And I'm sure that if given the opportunity, he'll do well. And, again, thank you, Caden. Thank you guys for listening to Play Sheet Sports Podcast. We'll be back with you.
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you.